Welcome back to the English Prime Podcast. I'm Anna,
And I'm Jake.
and today we're doing a deep dive into a topic that, well, we're calling it Stop Thinking, Start Talking.
Right, because we are looking at this collection of language learning transcripts today, and they all focus heavily on the psychology of speaking.
Yeah, and specifically, we're on a mission to explore this phenomenon that the sources call the noisy room in your head.
Oh, the noisy room. It's a great term.
It really is. It's that feeling where, and you, the listener, have probably felt this, where you can read, you can write, you can understand a language perfectly, but the exact second you try to speak, your mouth just goes completely on mute.
Yeah, it's honestly the ultimate betrayal by your own mind.
Exactly. It's, well, you know how to ride a bike, right? You don't have to sit there and think about the physics of balance or like the center of gravity.
You just get on and pedal.
Right. But imagine if the moment you sat on the bike in front of another person, your brain suddenly demanded like a highly cited written essay on the mechanics of cycling before it would let you push the pedal
You'd freeze up and immediately crash into the pavement.
into a parked car.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what we're unpacking today. We're going to break down the mental roadblocks holding you back and give you a practical toolkit to actually get you talking.
So let's get into it, because to understand why this happens, we have to kind of look past just the linguistics of it all and dive straight into neuroscience.
Okay, neuroscience.
Yeah.
But first, let's ground this, because there is this incredibly relatable scenario from the transcripts. I think anyone who has ever learned a language will instantly recognize this. Let's call it the bakery story.
Oh, yeah. The classic bakery scenario.
Right, so imagine you're in a bakery in a foreign country. You've been studying the language for years. You look at the pastry case, you spot this delicious piece of chocolate cake, and you start building the sentence in your head.
You're doing all the mental prep work.
Exactly. It's a simple, elegant sentence. Like, hi, can I have that chocolate cake, please? You rehearse it. The grammar is flawless. You are totally prepared.
Flawless execution in the mind.
Yes. But then it's your turn. You step up to the counter. The baker looks at you, smiles, and says something quickly in their native language. And in that exact second, it is like someone just reached behind your brain and yanked the power cord out of your router.
The Wi-Fi drops completely.
It drops. You lose all connection to the language you know you've mastered. And instead of your beautiful sentence, you end up just pointing a shaking finger at the glass and mumbling, like, hi, I cake this, please.
Which, I mean, from a purely utilitarian standpoint, still gets you the cake.
Well, yeah, it does. You get the cake. But you walk out of that bakery feeling completely humiliated, wondering why you just sounded like a caveman when you read novels in this language. So what is physically happening in the brain here?
So what's fascinating here is that this is not a cognitive failure. I mean, not in terms of memory. You didn't just suddenly forget your vocabulary.
All right, it's still in there somewhere.
Exactly. What happened was basically an emotional hijack. It's driven by the fear of judgment. In that moment at the counter, your brain isn't acting as a language processor at all. It's acting as a threat detector.
Wait, the threat detector? Over ordering a slice of cake? I mean, that feels like a massive overreaction.
Oh, it is a massive overreaction, but it's an evolutionary one. So deep in your brain, you have the amygdala, right? Which is basically your brain's alarm system.
Okay, the alarm system.
Yeah. And when you step up to that counter, you feel a spike of vulnerability. You're about to perform a complex task in front of a native speaker. The amygdala senses this vulnerability, interprets it as social danger, and just hits the panic button.
And what happens when the panic button gets hit?
It literally reroutes the energy in your brain. It pulls resources away from your prefrontal cortex, which, is the highly evolved part of your brain responsible for working memory and language formulation.
The part you actually need to speak.
Right. And it redirects all that power to your survival systems.
Yeah.
Your working memory gets wiped clean because your brain is basically thinking, we don't need grammar right now. We need to prepare for a tiger attack.
Okay, but wait. I have to push back on this a little bit. I understand evolutionary biology, but it feels incredibly outdated. Like, the baker is not a saber-toothed tiger.
No, definitely not a tiger.
Right. It's a low-stakes situation. Why does the amygdala equate a misplaced pronoun with a life-or-death scenario?
Because you have to remember how human beings prioritize threats. For our ancient ancestors, Social rejection, like being laughed at or judged as incompetent, was a profound physical danger.
Oh, because if the group rejected you,
You were cast out into the wilderness alone and you died. So your brain maps social shame onto the exact same neural pathways as physical pain.
so my brain literally thinks that using the wrong verb tense is going to get me exiled from the village.
Essentially, yes. And this fear isn't just ancient, right? It's heavily reinforced by our own modern experiences. Think about where most of us first try to speak a new language.
Oh no. In a classroom.
Yes, in a classroom.
The trauma is real.
It really is. Picture it. You're a kid, the teacher calls on you, you stand up to answer, and you make a tiny grammatical mistake. Or you mispronounce a word.
Right, and the teacher corrects you coldly, maybe uses a red pen, and the whole class giggles.
Exactly. It's a visceral memory.
It is visceral. I can practically hear the chalk squeaking on the board right now. You just want the floor to swallow you whole.
And your body remembers that feeling of shame. The sources talk about how we internalize that strict teacher persona. So years later, you're an adult standing in a lovely, harmless bakery.
But the brain recognizes the setup.
Yes. Your brain says, I'm about to speak a foreign language in front of an authority figure. It immediately references that old classroom memory, the amygdala fires, and it decides that speaking equals shame and silence equals safety.
Wow. It literally mutes you to protect you.
Exactly.
Okay, so that explains the external fear, right? The ghost of the strict teacher waiting to wrap our knuckles. But what if the person we're talking to is incredibly nice? Often, the strict teacher isn't the baker or the colleague at all. It's us.
Oh, 100%. If we connect this to the bigger picture in the transcripts, that external fear of judgment almost inevitably evolves into internal judgment.
You become your own strict teacher.
Right. And that is where we run into the trap of perfectionism.
The paralysis of perfectionism, it's awful.
It's paralyzing. Once you've internalized that mistakes are socially dangerous, you set this subconscious rule for yourself. I simply will not speak unless my sentence is flawless.
Right. No grammar errors, perfect accent, immaculate vocabulary.
And if it doesn't meet that impossible standard, the mouth stays shut.
And this leads to what the sources call the habit of polishing, which is just tragic when you really break down the mechanics of a real-life conversation.
Oh, the polishing habit is a conversation killer.
It really is. Here's the scenario. You're sitting in a meeting at work, or maybe you're at a loud dinner party. The conversation is flowing. You actually have a genuinely insightful thought.
You want to jump in.
Yes, you want to contribute. So you start building the sentence in your head. But instead of just saying the messy first draft out loud, you start polishing it.
You become your own toughest editor, doing it all in your working memory.
Exactly. You think, wait, should that be past perfect or past simple? Is that the right preposition? Let me adjust the vocabulary to sound a bit more professional. You fix it, and you polish it, and you edit it 10 times over in your head.
And while you are doing these intense cognitive gymnastics, maxing out your prefrontal cortex, what is happening in the real world?
The conversation has completely moved on. The topic has shifted entirely. Your perfectly polished, grammatically immaculate sentence is now completely irrelevant.
So you just pretend to check your phone.
Yep. You nod along and stay silent.
Yeah.
You miss the moment of human connection because you were too busy editing.
You know, linguists often use a brilliant analogy for this that was mentioned in the sources. They compare waiting for the perfect sentence to waiting for a bus.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, so you're standing at the bus stop wanting to go home, and a bus arrives. It'll get you where you need to go, but it looks a bit old. Maybe the paint is peeling, and you say, no, not this one.
You want a better bus.
Right. Another bus comes. It's a bit crowded. No, not this one either. You keep waiting for the luxury gold-plated bus with comfortable seating and free Wi-Fi.
And the tragic punchline is that eventually all the buses drive away, the routes close for the night, and you are left standing completely alone at the bus stop in the dark.
Exactly. Because you prioritize the quality of the vehicle over the actual destination, which is connection.
It's so true. And here's where it gets really interesting to me, because it reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of what language actually is.
Mm-hmm.
We are treating casual, everyday conversation like we're defending a PhD thesis.
Or writing an academic essay.
Yes. But human communication isn't an academic paper. A short, messy, grammatically imperfect sentence that you actually say out loud is mathematically and practically infinitely better than a flawless masterpiece of a sentence that is trapped inside your head.
It's the difference between theoretical linguistics and communicative competence. Communication is about conveying meaning.
If you point at the pastry case and say, I cake this, the meaning is conveyed.
The transaction happens. The perfect sentence in your head conveys absolutely nothing to anyone but you.
Okay, so if the core problem is that we are overloading our working memory by trying to construct complex sentences on the fly, which triggers the amygdala's fear response, how do we bypass that?
Well, because just telling someone, hey, stop overthinking and don't be afraid, never actually works.
Never. You can't
You're-
just logic your way out of a panic attack.
No, you can't logic your way out of an amygdala hijack. What you have to do is fundamentally shrink the cognitive load of speaking.
Shrink the task.
Exactly. You have to make the task so small and so automatic that your brain's alarm system doesn't even bother waking up.
Okay, so if the goal is to shrink the cognitive load, my first instinct is to just talk like a caveman. Just point and grunt, strip away all the complexity. Is that actually what we should be doing?
I mean, in a sophisticated way, yes. You need to stop trying to talk like a book.
Talk like a book.
Yeah, because we naturally speak our native language with high complexity, right? And we try to translate that complexity directly into the new language.
Oh, see.
You want to express a nuanced thought like, I have always been profoundly interested in continuously improving my interpersonal communication skills.
Which is a beautiful, very impressive sentence to write in an email.
Beautiful to write, terrifying to compute and speak on the fly. Your brain sees that complex grammatical structure, panics at the processing power required, and freezes.
So we shrink the task.
Right. Look for the core meaning and strip away the decoration. Instead of that massive sentence, just say, I want to speak better.
I want to speak better. Wow, that takes 2 seconds.
Yep. It conveys the exact same core desire, but it completely bypasses the perfectionism trap because there are fewer moving parts to mess up.
You are lowering the barrier to entry. I love that.
But there is a second layer to shrinking the task from the transcripts that is even more effective for real-time conversation, and it acts as a massive confidence booster.
Okay, what is it?
Reaction words.
Oh, reaction words, like saying things like, oh, really? Or no way.
Exactly.
I imagine those are great because it buys you a couple of seconds to actually think of your next verb without standing in awkward silence.
That is exactly the neurological benefit. Reaction words are those small, almost reflexive phrases we use to show the other person we are actively listening.
Like, that's crazy, or I get you, or makes sense.
Right. They require practically zero mental effort because you aren't constructing a subject-verb-object sentence. But they serve a vital function. First, they show engagement, keeping the conversational ball in the air.
And second, as I pointed out, they act as a cognitive buffer.
Yes. If someone tells you a long story, instead of panicking, trying to form your full, complex response while they are still talking.
This just means you aren't actually listening to them.
Exactly. Instead of doing that, you just hit them with an, oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
That single, oh, really, gives your working memory a valuable 2-second runway to calmly form a simple follow-up thought. It diffuses the pressure entirely.
It's brilliant. So we have simple sentences and we have reaction words to buy time, but what about when we actually need to communicate specific recurring needs?
Right, the stuff you say every day.
That brings us to the concept of ready phrases. These are slightly longer than reaction words, but the principle of reducing cognitive load is identical.
So a ready phrase is a sentence that you use so often in your daily life that you practice it until it becomes completely automatic.
Right, so instead of building the sentence from scratch every time, it's just ready to go.
Like if you work in an office, you might always need to say, sorry, could you repeat that? Or, can I ask a quick question?
Exactly. For daily life, it might be, can I get a coffee, please? Or, where's the restroom? Linguistically, these are known in the sources as lexical chunks.
Lexical chunks, what does that actually mean?
It means your brain stops treating the sentence as a math problem.
A math problem.
Yeah, when you learn grammar, your brain computes. Subject plus auxiliary verb plus main verb plus object, that takes heavy processing power.
Ah, I see.
But when you memorize a phrase as a lexical chunk, your brain stores the entire sentence as a single unit of vocabulary. It bypasses grammar processing completely.
Oh, I love this. It completely changes the dynamic of speaking. It's like having a conversational toolbox that is already pre-assembled.
Yes, pre-assembled.
Imagine you have a guest coming over and they need a place to sit. You wouldn't run out to the forest, chop down a tree, mill the lumber, and build a chair from scratch while they are standing awkwardly in your living room.
That would be incredibly stressful and totally inefficient.
It would be a nightmare. But that is exactly what we do when we try to construct complex, brand new sentences using generative grammar on the spot in a foreign language. We are building the chair from scratch while the person is staring at us.
Which is why the amygdala panics.
Right. Using ready phrases and lexical chunks is like just reaching into the closet and pulling out a pre-assembled folding chair. You don't have to build the furniture every single time you open your mouth. You just reach into your toolbox and pull out the exact ready-made tool you need.
That is a perfect analogy. You're relying on muscle memory and automatic recall rather than active, high-stress cognitive processing. You bypass the noisy room entirely.
Okay, so we have the toolbox. We know how to shrink the task using lexical chunks and simple sentences. But let's be real, taking these folding chairs out into the real world can still feel deeply intimidating.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one thing to know you have the tools. It's another to set them up at a crowded, intimidating dinner party.
Which raises an important logistical question from the material. How do we transition from theory to practice? Before you take these tools into high-pressure social situations, you need to practice them in what the transcripts call safe mode.
Safe mode.
Yeah.
Like restarting a computer with only the essential programs running to figure out what's broken without crashing the whole system.
Exactly. Safe mode is low-pressure practice. It's
Yep.
about getting your physical mouth used to making the sounds of the language, building those neural pathways, without the fear of an audience triggering your amygdala.
Okay, so what does safe mode look like?
One of the most effective techniques is simply narrating your own life out loud while you are completely alone.
Oh, I do this anyway, but usually just complaining about traffic in my car.
Well, try doing it in the language you're learning. If you're cooking dinner, just say out loud, "Now I cut the vegetables. Now I boil the water. The water is hot."
It sounds incredibly basic, almost silly.
It does, but it physically connects your actions to the spoken word. It builds muscle memory in your jaw and tongue without any social anxiety.
But what if you want to involve another human to bridge the gap to actual conversation, but keep the pressure low,
You can use asynchronous communication,
like texting?
like voice notes. Voice notes with a very close, understanding friend are fantastic for this. A friend who knows you are learning.
Oh, that's a great idea.
You can preface it by saying, "My sentences are going to be messy, but I just need to practice speaking out loud." Sending a voice note completely removes the real-time pressure of a phone call or face-to-face chat.
Right, because you can pause, you can think, you can even delete and re-record if you really want to, though I'm guessing the goal is to just let it flow.
Exactly, just let it flow. And if you aren't quite ready for even a close friend to hear you, there is always the mirror.
Yes, mirror practice.
It is highly underrated. Looking yourself in the eye and speaking your ready phrases out loud forces you to see yourself as a speaker of that language. Think of it like dancing.
Dancing. How so?
Well, most people don't go to a club, walk straight onto the center of the dance floor, and bust out a brand new complex dance move they've never tried before, right?
Definitely not.
They practice it alone in their room, looking in the mirror, feeling a little silly, but getting the rhythm down in their body.
Oh, I see.
Mirror practice is dancing alone in your room so that when you finally get to the party, the real conversation, you already have the physical muscle memory to fall back on.
You've already done the awkward part in private. That makes total sense. You've demystified the physical act of speaking.
Yeah.
But, looking at all of this, the neuroscience, the analogies, the practice modes, there is one final crucial piece to this puzzle that we have to talk about.
The mindset shift.
Yes. We can shrink the task, we can practice in safe mode, we can build lexical chunks, but none of it will stick if we don't change the core narrative we tell ourselves about our own abilities.
This is arguably the most critical step of all because it dictates how you interact with the world around you.
There is a mental rebrand here in the transcripts that I absolutely adore. It's so simple but profoundly effective.
What is it?
You must completely banish the phrase, "My English is terrible," or whatever language you're learning. You have to stop saying it immediately.
Okay, so what do we say instead?
Instead, you must rebrand your language skills by telling yourself and others, "My English is under construction."
Under construction. Wow, that fundamentally changes the entire framework of how you view your progress, doesn't it?
It really does. Let's analyze why this works so well. When you say, "My English is terrible," it's a fixed state. It's a harsh judgment.
It implies a permanent failure and kind of invites pity.
Yes. But when you say, "My English is under construction," you completely neutralize the shame of imperfection.
Because imperfection is literally the baseline expectation of a construction site.
Exactly. If you walk past a house that is under construction and it doesn't have a roof yet, or there are exposed wires and sawdust everywhere, You don't point at it and laugh and call it a failed house.
No, you don't judge it for being incomplete.
Right. You understand inherently that it is a work in progress. You see the scaffolding, you see the yellow tape, and you know that active, positive, forward momentum is happening there.
It implies effort. It tells your brain and whoever you are speaking to, yes, it's a bit messy right now. You might have to step over some grammar debris, but I'm actively building something here. I am trying.
Grammar debris, I love that so much. And it totally shifts the social dynamic.
Yeah.
If you start a conversation by looking down and saying, I'm sorry, my English is terrible, you are creating an awkward power dynamic.
You're apologizing for your existence in the conversation.
Exactly. But if you smile, make eye contact, and say, my English is under construction, please bear with me, you are inviting them into the process. You are showing confidence even in your imperfection. You become a collaborator.
It replaces shame with grace, and once you grant yourself that grace, you stop signaling danger to your amygdala.
The noisy room in your head suddenly gets a lot quieter.
Yeah, the strict teacher realizes you aren't afraid of the red pen anymore because you already know and accept that you are a work in progress.
Okay, let's bring all of this together because we have covered some serious psychological and neurological ground today. We started by looking at that dreaded Wi-Fi drop, that devastating moment in the bakery where your brain unplugs because the amygdala senses social vulnerability and shuts down your prefrontal cortex.
Right, and we examine how that external fear of judgment morphs into the internal trap of perfectionism, where you let the perfect bus drive by again and again because you're overloading your working memory trying to polish sentences in your head.
And to fight back, we learned that you have to shrink the task. Forget generative grammar and academic essays. Use simple sentences. Arm yourself with short reaction words to buy cognitive processing time.
And build a conversational toolbox full of lexical chunkswordy phrases so you don't have to build the folding chair from scratch every time you open your mouth.
We discuss the importance of practicing in safe mode, narrating your life while cooking, sending low-pressure voice notes, and doing the awkward mirror dancing in private to build muscle memory.
And finally, the ultimate mental rebrand. You are not terrible, you are simply under construction.
So, here is our challenge to you, the listener. Take just one tool from today's deep dive. We challenge you to speak just one real sentence out loud today.
Just one, and make it simple.
Whether it's ordering from the barista, saying hello to a colleague, or even just talking to your reflection in the bathroom mirror, it doesn't matter if it's messy. It doesn't matter if the grammar is slightly off. Pull the scaffolding down for just one sentence and put it out into the real world.
Because ultimately, the goal of language isn't flawless mathematical engineering, it's human connection. Which actually leaves us with a final thought from the sources to consider as you go about your day.
What's that?
Well, we spend so much of our lives hiding our mistakes, terrified of looking foolish or incompetent. But what if the broken, messy English that you are so terrified of exposing actually makes you more approachable, human, and endearing to others than a flawless robotic delivery ever could?
Wow. What if the messy construction site is actually where the most genuine connections happen?
Yeah.
Think about that the next time you step up to order that chocolate cake.